And the president of the USGA joins me now as he wraps up his term. But it's not only his time as being the president, but also the additional years serving the organization and the association. He is Fred Perpall. It's nice to see you this morning. I mentioned Century. I could have said Peter Millar. You got to have great partners. You're Natalie clad always. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing wonderful, Gary. Thanks for having me on. And yes, we love all of our great partners, Century, particularly our folks at Peter Millar that keeps us looking sharp. So thanks to you for having us on. And it's wonderful to be able to talk to the world of golf this morning.
Well, it's great to talk to you as you are getting ready to put this chapter, officially in the rearview mirror, but it doesn't mean you're going to divest yourself of doing all you can, not only for the USGA, but like you said, for the game at large. I want to start with your view of things when it began, when you said, I'm going to invest the most precious thing I've got, which is time. What was your view of the game then? And as you look at it now, how much is advanced? Because we're going to talk about some numbers that are very encouraging, very positive. But how has your view of the game changed in this time?
Well, Gary, thank you for that. You've heard my story, and many folks have heard my story. Long before I was a golfer, golf was changing my life. In my hometown, where I grew up in Nassau, a group of golfers, at a country club my mother worked at, literally gave me a scholarship to help me go to college. So long before I picked up a golf club, golf was changing my life. And imagine, how that's changed my life. And so it's been an honor and a privilege as a relatively new golfer to be able to serve golf at its highest level. And, so many of my friends who play golf, who've grown up playing golf, they see golf and they take a little bit for granted how special this game is. But, having been a new entrant into the game, I started playing 12, 13 years ago, I see firsthand how this game changes your life. And what a gift it's been for me, this beautiful game of golf. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve, particularly as golf navigates, such a tricky moment where many new people are joining the game. We have a lot of, change and, innovation going on in the game. So I've been able to see all of that firsthand, and it's been a kind of privilege to be able to serve during this time while we have so many opportunities. It
was literally around this time, we're approaching that anniversary when it felt like the whole world kind of caved in on what was March 13th. And as we approach that day, as the days unfolded immediately after that, and really weeks and months, what people found in golf was a combination of convenience and practical dynamics that allowed them to use golf, whether it be for the first time or more so. And what has happened is that many of those people have stuck around, invested more time, more money into it. Why do you think that the mechanisms that were in place allowed people to expose themselves to it and they stuck around? Why did all that happen?
Yeah, well, Gary, the numbers are really, they're phenomenal when you think about it. According to the National Golf, Foundation, we have almost 49 million Americans that would view themselves or call themselves golfers today. That's up almost 20 million, going into COVID. So 20 million people have joined the game of golf in the last 5 or 6 years. And, that's a fantastic statistic. And the reality of those numbers is almost 50% of those folks are juniors, women, and people of color. So the very people we've been asking to come to the game of golf have shown up. And I do think COVID gave people the time and the space to actually put a premium on their time outdoors. It gave us a safe way to be together. I mean, what we love most about golf is who golf puts us with and the friendships and the intimacy that it creates. And I do feel like, folks have experienced that firsthand, and it is a very attractive way to spend your free time. I also feel like, many, folks have seen, their friends show up in the game, so they've gotten golf curious. I think things like Topgolf and other alternative ways of off-site golf has made, the golf curious. It's given them a lower bar of entry to actually experiment with the game. And you and I both know the first time we've hit a club square in the face, the exhilaration you feel, you get hooked. So I think all of these things, COVID, offsite golf, the time, remote work, all of these things have given people more time to actually experiment and experience with the game. And they've found what we already knew, that the quality of your life can be greatly improved by the quality of this game. And so I'm just so optimistic because I know of nothing in our country, not our churches, not our businesses, not our universities, not our schools. Nothing gives Americans the time to actually come together the way golf does. And we are better as a country when we're together. And so I have this, crazy, idea that, building a more inclusive and a bigger game of golf not only improves the game, but it has the potential to improve our country and to improve our lives. And that's what makes, all of us at the USGA so excited today about the trajectory that golf is on.
It's interesting you mentioned these non-green grass experiences, and practically, I'm so glad that those are being accrued and counted. Those are forms of golf, but it's also, Fred, it's a nice, less, I think, intimidating incubator for people to try it with friends. There's much more of a social component. My question is, what are the things that are most effective to take that experience and then walk them into what is the more traditional experience of golf? Are we finding new methods to take that person and say, no, don't just stay here or don't turn your back, take another step? What are we doing?
Yeah, well, the numbers are proving that out too, Gary. So almost 50% of people that enter the game of golf through the non-traditional offsite golf are actually migrating to traditional golf. So to your point, the numbers actually prove out that once people get golf curious, they get on their journey. I used to say, because coming into the game of golf, I entered golf in my mid-30s. I was already a very accomplished, businessman. And even for me, having accomplished so much in my career, it was still intimidating. Golf's got its own language. We've got our dress code, we've got our traditions. And for people that did not grow up, it's pretty intimidating. So these non-traditional forms give you this wonderful way to experiment. And I say to all of us who are very golf, sort of intelligent, that we need to put our arms around those folks and walk them down the path, not because we feel traditional golf is superior to non-traditional golf, but we know that your life can be enhanced greatly by the time and space that green grass golf gives you. So we do see people moving, from offsite golf to traditional golf in very high numbers. More than 50% of folks are moving that way. And I do think things like building, these small places to play, driving ranges, putts, chipping areas, adjacent to these offsite courses, give people the opportunity to kind of migrate. And we need to keep preaching the gospel of what traditional golf, gives you. The values, the competitiveness, the time, the space, all the things you learn, from playing, traditional golf. And we need to keep, showing folks that this is actually a game that is absolutely a game for them. And, I'm encouraged by all the things that the USGA is working on to continue to attract, non-traditional audiences to the game, because the bigger we build this game, the better the game will be.
The anchor site concept, which we are now getting ready to have our third straight year of an anchor site hosting the U.S. Open. Look, you can't replicate what Pinehurst gives you with the Cradle being turned into a 360 cathedral of preparation for the best players in the world, in the Village, and converting Maniac Hill into a place for people to congregate. And then you go to Oakmont, I'm going, well, what could they possibly do there with a range that was antiquated? No, you figured that out. And Shinnecock has a different challenging footprint. What have you learned? Because this has been, during your tenure as the president, about the essential ingredients for anchor sites to be the right answer to the rotation for this championship.
Well, I'm so proud of the USGA, and much credit goes to John Bodenhammer, our Chief Championships Officer, my predecessor, Stu Francis, who was the president when we went down this path. I, of course, was championship chair. And to all of our teammates at the USGA who really supports this. The U.S. Open we feel like it has its unique identity. And yet, having a consistent approach to where we take this championship gives us the opportunity to go much deeper in fewer places. And all of us know who, run organizations that, so often we get, the most out of being very filtered and focused, because that clarity creates confidence. And each championship site has its own set of opportunities. You talk about Pinehurst. We're going to Pinehurst 10 more times over the next, coming 20 years. So not only U.S. Opens, we're taking many more championships. So we can invest deeper in those sites because we know we keep coming back, and we can amortize those investments over much more championships. Every site has its own opportunities, and we're so excited. One of the things I love about the U.S. Open strategy now is we want to accentuate the qualities of those sites. And there's not a cookie cutter approach to the U.S. Open. We're not chasing a score or chasing a particular type of setup. This gives us an opportunity to actually highlight that architect. So we go to Pinehurst, we want to highlight all that is unique and good about Pinehurst #2 and Donald Ross's architecture and put that on stage. We go to Oakmont. We want Oakmont. The members say you can show up on any Thursday and it could be a U.S. Open that breaks out at Oakmont. So each site, each of these anchor sites give us an opportunity to invest deeper, to put more permanent infrastructure in place, and to actually increase the quality. Because, at the top of our strategy really is the player's experience. And you will see at Pebble Beach in 2027, at Shinnecock this year, you will see two very different approaches to quality U.S. Opens. But I think at the core, you will still see the U.S. Open strategy, which is, meant to be golf's greatest championships on America's greatest sites. And it's the toughest test in golf. And it's the most open championship. It doesn't matter where you come from, what the color of your skin is, who your parents were, what the shirt is on your back. If you can get the golf ball in the hole efficiently, you can play in U.S. Opens. And we want you to use all 14 clubs in your bag, and also the 15th one, the one between your ears. So the U.S. Open is meant, to be a challenge. And we believe by going to fewer places more consistently, we can learn those sites better, and we can actually increase the quality and showcase, what we believe to be a inherently American championship, one that is full of merit and open to all.
Last thing, the development program, huge fan, big believer that it should have come to pass. It has. Just a quick thought on how you will measure the effectiveness of this program for the future generations. How much time do you need? Is it 3 years, 5 years, 10 years to say the way that we're approaching this is the most effective way?
I'm so excited about what we're doing at the USNDP and having a national program. It's interesting if you look at the tours, both PGA Tour, LPGA, most of the international players that compete on those tours come from a national development program, all but the Americans. And much credit to Mike Wanitz, our CEO, walked in day one and he said, this is something we have to solve. And I give Mike a lot of credit, and also Heather Daly Don DeFrio, who's leading this program for us. This year, over 500 athletes will be impacted by this USNDP. One should not have to mortgage your house, like Tiger described, to actually raise an elite golfer. And the reality is, Americans have so much resources. We almost represent 50% of all that play golf, and we have the resources to actually invest in our amateurs, particularly the elite ones who can play good golf. And not all of them come from homes and backgrounds that can afford that kind of investment. I mean, just think about the amount of resources that it takes to raise an elite golfer. And one of my favorite stories, last year at the annual meeting, we met a young man whose father was a youth pastor, and they had immigrated from South Africa. And this young man is an extraordinary golfer, and he's 17. But as a youth pastor and mom who stays at home, they probably don't have the funds to travel around to all of the junior championships, to invest in coaching, to even have a place to play. And so this young man received a $10,000 grant from the USGA through our USNDP grant program. And 50 other kids also receive these grants every year, and others at a lower level depending on need. And we believe it's inherently American that based on merit, you get to continue to pursue this journey up the elite path of golf. And I think over some time, what you will see is more elite golfers that come from all backgrounds. And we're very proud of this. This is not, based on anything other than your ability to actually play elite golf. And, much credit to Mike Warren, our CEO, who sort of came in. But this access to coaching, this access to opportunity, this access to playing and competing is something that I believe every kid who can play at that level ought to have. And we're very proud that we can give this gift of elite golf to those that are able to play it.
Fred, thank you for carving out the time. I look forward to seeing you next week. Appreciate it very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary, and thanks for all that you do for the game of golf.
There is Fred Perpall, president of the USGA.